How's it going, aliens? My name's iALiEN. Today I'm back on another Identity 5 video, and today's video is my Hunter tier list for season 12. I can't quite remember if I did a tier list for season 11, but I do know it's been some months and months since I did my last Hunter tier list, so there's definitely a need for a refresh, and here it is. Let's get right into the video. Okay, before I get into the tier list, I do want to plug my Discord server. The link will be in the pinned comment below, as well as in the description below. We are currently at 3.5 thousand members, so if you could, go click it, description, and pinned comment. So let's get into how the tier list works. So basically there are 5 tiers. There's S tier, there's A plus tier, A minus tier, and B tier and C tier. Also, similar to my survivor tier list, I am going to try and make it more compact than usual. With my survivor one, I kind of succeeded at that by like 20 minutes. So let's see if I can do the same for the Hunter tier list. But basically, S tier is meta. These are the best hunters in the game. These are the best hunters to use. So they are outclass every single other hunter in the game. A plus tier hunters are tournament viable hunters. These are very, very good hunters, and you'll see them in tournaments, in second round, third round of tournaments. And of course, if they're good enough for tournament against really good survivors on voice communication, obviously they're more than good enough for legendary rank. A minus tier is tournament viable but niche. This means that these hunters you fully mastered are good enough to be used, in the third round of a tournament. And obviously in legendary rank, these hunters take a lot of mastery, but if you do get their playstyle together and you do master them, they are really strong hunters and they are viable hunters. B tier are rank viable hunters. So these hunters are not good in a tournament atmosphere. However, if you master these hunters and you get really good with them, they are good enough to be used in legendary rank. And C tier hunters are simply unviable hunters. These hunters are not good enough for tournaments, and these hunters are not good enough for legendary rank in most cases. Of course, if you're facing boosted survivors, you can win with them. But in most cases, these hunters are not good enough for top tier rank. Of course, in low tiers and mid tiers, in fun matches, they're more than good enough. But in top tier matches, they are unviable. So let's just start off with the worst tier, which is C tier. These are unviable hunters. The worst hunter in the game, and he's always the worst hunter in the game, is still Ember. Ember is the default hunter. Ember has amazing camping and decent map control, but Ember will always be the worst hunter in the game because he has 0 chase. You can easily get 5 Cypher Kaida as Ember by any survivor that knows what they're doing. While Ember did receive a buff that now helps his doll and AI and the way it works, and also starts him with half a flame at the start of the game, it's not a full flame. So you're still going to get Kaida, you're still going to get transitioned on, you're still going to get Cypher rushed. So by the time you do catch someone, your camping won't even matter because the Cyphers are so far worked on at that point, you're going to lose anyway. So Ember is just not viable for legendary rank, and he's not viable for tournament at all. However, you can obviously use him against survivors that aren't as experienced and know how to kite him, and especially don't know how to save off of him. He's a very strong camper. However, he is still the worst hunter in the game because his chase is just too weak. The next hunter in C tier is Evil Reptilian. Lizard has been the second worst hunter in the game for some time now as well. Lizard is just really poorly optimized on mobile. If this tier list was done on PC, Lizard could be a higher tier, such as B tier, most likely. A minus tier is probably a stretch, but B tier, yeah, I could see. But especially on mobile controls, Lizard is not good at all. His chase is lacking. His camp is lacking. His map control is lacking. Lizard is the perfect example of a jack of all trades, master of none. So he has early game chase with his jump. And then his early game chase gets better once you can stomp on people. He does have camping because of the stomp. That's a secondary attack, so he can double it. And he does have map control, obviously, because of the jump. Lets him, you know, traverse the map very quickly. So he has all three things. However, all of them are very weak. They're all below average. His chase is very below average. He's easily kiteable. He's just not as kiteable as someone like Ember, but he's still easily kiteable. His camping is really easy to save off of. It's just not as easy as a Bloody Queen, but it's still weak, below average camping. And his map control is nothing that's going to help you stop Cypher Rush at all. It's not something like, you know, Disciple, where they have zero map control. He at least can get around the map quicker, but he still doesn't have any sort of control on Cypher Rush at all. Because of this, Lizard will simply get kited, saved off of, and Cypher Rushed in Legendary rank in tournaments. He never will be used in a tournament. But similar to Ember, when you're playing against survivors that don't really know how to kite him, don't really know how to save off of him, he can be very strong. But especially on mobile, he's just not a strong hunter at all. He definitely needs probably an entire rework, but at least a buff. At the very least, just optimize his controls on mobile. And if you want to go the extra step, then buff him. And if you really want to go the extra step, then just rework him together. Because as is, he will never be a viable hunter in this meta. The next hunter in C tier, and this is going to hurt for a lot of people, but it is Geisha. Geisha is unviable now in Legendary, top tier rank, and in tournaments. This is because Geisha is a chase only hunter. She has no map control. She has no camping. And I know people are going to say she has her second skill for camping and even a little bit of map control. But that only works against survivors that don't know how to play against her. Once you face good survivors, they are never going to fall for soul departure, for that trick. They're never falling for that. So that means her camping is nothing. That means her map control is nothing. So the only thing Geisha has is chase. The problem with her chase is that it has a built-in counter in the game. So you can just stop her chase by looking at her. You could be saying, oh, well, that's, you know, easier said than done. But when you're facing good survivors, that really is just how it goes. You just skill check a Geisha, and you can kite them very long. You pallet stun them 10 billion times, and they finally kill you after 90, 100 seconds. But then they have no camping, and then they have no map control. And guess what? Maybe you mess up against the Geisha, and she kills you in 30 seconds, right? What is she going to do? She has no camping or map control. So the best she's going to even do, the best, is she's going to tie that match. If she can take the survivors she killed in 30 seconds, and if she can farm them off the chair through 2 tie turners, and hope the ciphers don't pop, then she will tie that match. But she can never win a match against good survivors because she has no winning trait. In order to win a game in this meta, you have to either have the map control to do it, or you have to have the camping to do it, to snowball the game and for you to win. Chase puts you in a position for a tie, and then the map control and the camping gives you the win. Geisha has 0 of either of that, so the best she can ever do is put herself in position for ties with her chase, but the issue is her chase is not very strong, and she can get kited pretty hard, and then you'll just lose the game. So Geisha is a very strong hunter, very, very strong hunter in low tiers and mid tiers, because these survivors have not learned how to kite her yet. They have not learned how to counter her yet. So Geisha is probably S tier in low and mid tiers. But as soon as you start reaching high tiers, top tiers, that's when Geisha starts to fall off, and that's when you see she's unviable in C tier. Also, Geisha does have many counters in this game. That's just icing on the cake to why she's bad, is that so many survivors counter her. The next hunter in C tier, the next unviable hunter, is Disciple. It's Anne. Anne is unviable. The problem with Anne is, okay, she has no map control. But in theory, Anne should be good, because Anne has chase and Anne has camping. So you think, okay, I get a quick kill and then I camp, I get double hits, I stuff saves, blah blah blah, I can win the game. The issue is, it's similar to Lizard, to where technically they have these qualities about them, but realistically in the game they don't work as they should. Anne's early game chase is just not good. Her leap early game is way too weak. It's easy to dodge the cats, and even if you get a cat on you, you can easily just get distance from Anne and kite her that way. Her camping is counterable. Good survivors just know all you have to do is run into the cats. Run into the cats, it stuns you, you get hit, and then you save. And now you made a clean save. If you wait for her, that's when you start getting double hit. That's when you get stuffed. But if you're smart and know how to save off of the Anne, all you ever do is run into the cat, and she gets one hit on you, and now you're out. In her chase, like I described earlier, it's just very weak early game. In-game chase, it's a lot better, but it doesn't matter about in-game if you are not in the position to tie or win at that point. She doesn't really have much comeback, and her map control is very lacking. She has basically no map control whatsoever. She has basically no cipher control whatsoever. So you stack those together with a below average chase and a slightly above average camp, that makes her an unviable hunter. She will never get used in a tournament, and she will barely ever get used in legendary rank. The final hunter in C tier, the final unviable hunter, is Gamekeeper. Gamekeeper is very similar to Geisha. Basically, everything I say about Geisha, you can almost put with Gamekeeper with a few exceptions. Gamekeeper has theoretically a good chase. He has no map control. But the only difference between him and Geisha is that he has camping while Geisha has none. The problem with Gamekeeper is, okay, one, his chase. His chase can seem very broken in low and mid tiers because the hook auto aims to you and the hook goes through everything, and you can think, he's just a broken toxic hunter. And Gamekeeper's hook is broken, and he is a toxic hunter to kite and face. However, it's very easy to kite him because all you have to do is get distance. All you have to do is cut off the line of sight. If you keep cutting off the line of sight against Gamekeeper, he can never hook you. So then you're just kiting him forever, and he can never land a hook on top of you. And then his camping, while it seems pretty OP because it can get Terra Shocks, no good top tier merc will ever get Terra Shocked by the hook. Top tier mercs know how to bait your hook out, and they know when to get off the chair so that they don't get Terra Shocked by it. So that's why you see a lot of top Gamekeepers, instead of going for a Terra Shock, because that's too risky and it doesn't happen often, instead they just hook the mercenary and hit them so that they take the 1.5 damage, they rush the save, and that's it. Because the strategy of going for a Terra Shock with the hook is not a very viable strategy at all against good survivors, but against, mediocre survivors, that's when Gamekeeper can seem really OP, because you can just Terra Shock hook every single survivor, and you can, no survivors cutting off your line of sight, so you can kill them really quickly and auto hook them. But There's a reason Gamekeeper's usage rate is so low in Legendary Rank, and there's a reason he has never been used in a major Identity 5 tournament, and it's the issues I just listed. That does it for all of the C tier hunters, so let's move on to the B tier hunters. The B tier hunters are rank viable hunters. So if you master these hunters and get very good with them, you can use them in rank, in Legendary Rank, and you can win with them. However, these hunters are not strong enough to be used competitively in a tournament. The first hunter in B tier is Jack the Ripper. Ripper is an interesting hunter because at one time, really all of the B tier hunters I'm going to name at one time used to be S tier. All of these hunters are hunters that toolkits were so strong that at one point they were S tier. However, as the game has evolved and survivors have gotten better and more counters to these hunters have come out, they have all fallen to the point of B tier. Ripper is very similar. Ripper used to be really hard to kite, really hard to save off of. The issue with Ripper is he's not that hard to kite anymore if you know what you're doing. You can easily dodge Foggy Blades. You can force him to hit you with the basic attack. And then his camping, it's just easy. Like, you should never, a top tier player should never get hit by a Foggy Blade when he's camping. You should always be able to dodge it. And lastly, Ripper has 0 map control and 0 cipher control. So even if you kill someone quick with Ripper or do decent with his camping, you aren't going to even win because he's just going to get cipher rushed so hard in this meta. He's just going to get cipher rushed. He's going to get transitioned. And really, his camping used to win him games. That was the thing, his camping used to be OP. You could stuff a lot of rescuers. You could double hit the mercenary. But survivors have just gotten better. And they have gotten smarter. And survivors won't fall for his camping anymore. And they will dodge the Foggy Blade. And then his camping becomes just as bad as any other regular hunter. So that's why Ripper's only in B tier. He's still good in rank, but he gets no usage in tournaments for a reason, because he just is not powerful enough anymore to face top level survivors and win. The next hunter in B tier is Joseph. Joseph also used to be S tier at one point when he first came out, but the reason why Joseph is B tier is basically just accelerated decoding. Accelerated decoding is the biggest counter to Photographer in this entire game. It destroys him, and it gives survivors, even if you're in a position to win, accelerated decoding gives them the tie. And if you're in the position to tie, accelerated decoding can give them the win and can give you the loss. On top of that, survivors have gotten better. They don't get jump scared, they don't get terror shocked off ciphers anymore. Their hiding spots are a lot better now. They're more efficient in their healing. They're more efficient in their decoding, rushing down ciphers. All of these things, they know how to heal off the 0.5 damage. All of these things that Joseph used to be able to do that made him OP, survivors have gotten smarter and they know how to counter Joseph a lot better, to the point where he's still a good hunter, but he's just lacking. He's not quite strong enough to be used often in tournaments at all, and not too often in Legendary Rank. Joseph does get used a tiny bit in tournaments, but this is only by the best photographers in the entire world. These are photographers that, no one is ever going to become as good as them. So it's hard to consider that as tournament usage, because 99% of Josephs just aren't going to be able to use them in tournament, because voice communication and top level survivors that know how to counter him makes him really only a rank viable hunter. The next and last hunter in B tier is Clown, Smiley Face. Clown used to also be S tier, just like all of the other hunters I named. But Clown is just very similar story. Clown, there are a lot of counters in this game to Clown. Priestess is obviously the hardest counter, but then you have counters like Prospector, Enchantress, Magician, Perfumer if she has a palette, Cowboy, Acrobat, Prisoner, and I'm missing more. That's how, there's just so many counters in this game. I know someone in my comments is going to tell me, oh, I missed this one, I missed that one. But that, I just named 8 counters to Clown, and there are more than that I forgot. So that's really the biggest issue with Clown, is that on every single team comp, and Seer counters him to a degree, and Mechanic counters him because of her Cypher rushing. That's why Clowns always have to ban Mechanic or Priestess. Coordinator also counters Clown. But yeah, so Clown has many counters. Maps also counter Clown. Just palettes. The built-in counter to Clown is literally palettes. You go to a map like Arms Factory or Hospital or Leo's Memory or like Good Luck. You just spam palettes and the Clown can never get you. So he's really super niche on maps like Moonlit, maybe Lakeside, maybe Red Church. And even then, if survivors know what they're doing or survivors are playing counters to Clown, you will still lose with him. The good things about Clown is that his chase can be pretty good, his camping can be pretty good, and his map control is very good. So Clown has the 3 things you need, and they're all at an above average to above average level, and that's what makes Clown still a good hunter. Definitely good enough for rank, and just not quite good enough for tournament, but definitely good for legendary rank, because he does have good chase, good camping, good map control. He hard counters mercenary, and his modified drill is really OP. So Clown is a strong hunter. He's a monster. It's just all of the survivor counters, the maps that counter him, and then survivors getting better, and that's what makes him only rank viable. The next tier is A- tier. These hunters are niche tournament viable. So this means that if you master them, you could see them getting used in tournaments in 3rd rounds with the right bans or with the right maps. But these are not hunters you will see too often in tournaments. But of course, if they're tournament viable, they're also legendary rank viable. The first hunter in A- tier is Wu Chang. Wu Chang, a lot of mid-tier survivors will tell me Wu Chang's S tier. He's simply not. Wu Chang seems very OP when you don't know how to kite him. But when you know how to kite a Wu Chang is very weak. If you think about it, Wu Chang has nothing early game. He starts off with nothing besides his umbrella. So, yes, his hitbox is OP. But good survivors can kite him because he has nothing to help him get a kill early game. He has the best map control in the game, but if you can't get a kill, what does it even matter? So Wu Chang is very strong when he's fed, and when you give free hits to him, he can become a very strong hunter. But that's why you really need insolence with him, so that you can start building up your presence earlier, and that's your only hope usually in top tiers. But Wu Chang really boils down to, if you're facing survivors that know how to kite, you will lose or tie, and if you're facing survivors that don't know how to kite, you will win. Obviously, this becomes a problem when you're facing top level survivors that know how to kite. So this is why he's only very niche tournament viable. You could see him getting used in a map like Moonlit, where he can get, it's a lot easier for him to get those free hits, and it serves his map control very well. So that's a place he can be used, 3rd round Moonlit. But besides that, he won't get too much use in tournament. The next hunter in A- tier is Mad Eyes. Mad Eyes has gotten nerfed 10 billion times. It's very sad because when Mad Eyes first came out, he was really an S tier broken hunter. However, the developers constantly nerfed him over and over and over again to the point Mad Eyes is just so. Yes, he's so hard to use, but even if you face a fully mastered Mad Eyes, he is still quite beatable just because he relies on getting a kill, but he has nothing to help him get the kill besides, fast pallet breaking. That's it. He has to chase a survivor, but he has nothing to help him, so he's basically just Ember, but better base stats. Once you can get that kill, that's when Mad Eyes becomes a monster, because Mad Eyes map control is amazing, and Mad Eyes camping is amazing. So he has great map control, he has great camping, but the third thing is the chase. He's actually the opposite of hunters I named before, such as Geisha, where Geisha can put you in the position to tie, but she can't give you anything to win. Mad Eyes map control and camping can give you the wins. He can put you in he can win you the game, but first you have to get put into the position to at least tie. And because his chase is not good and he has nothing early game to help his chase, it's a difficult process to put yourself into that position. But once you do, that's when Mad Eyes becomes a monster. A lot of people could say, oh, well, what if you don't chase with Mad Eyes and you just use the walls early game? This strategy is just outdated. It's a dead strategy in the meta because good survivors will never get hit by a wall early game because there's a delay to the wall, so you can easily dodge them. As long as you're paying attention to the game and you're focused, you're not going to get hit by a wall early game. So that's why chasing first with them and using Blink is the best strategy, but it's still a very difficult strategy. Mad Eyes is definitely a strong hunter when he's mastered, which is very hard to do, and that's why he's A- tier. Niche tournament viable. You can see Mad Eyes used in maps like Red Church and Eversleeping because those are by far his two best maps, but that's really it for the most part. The next hunter at A- tier is Soul Weaver. Soul Weaver, of course, also used to be S tier before the developers nerfed her 20 billion times. At this point, because of all the nerfs Soul Weaver has received, she's just A- tier. It's really simple for her. If she didn't receive the nerf, she'd still be good, but she did, so she's A- tier. Her chase is very good, her camping is pretty decent, and she doesn't have cipher control or map control at all. So Soul Weaver has always been a tying hunter, and she still is a tying hunter because she has chase and decent camping, but no map control to win you games. Soul Weaver can be very strong and very toxic on certain maps. She's good for tournament. She excels in tournament because sometimes in tournaments all you need is a tie to win because your survivors did their job. So now guess what? You need a tie to win. Who are you going to use? You can use Soul Weaver, and you can use her and you can get that tie and then you can win. But in rank, you're usually going for wins because you want to rank up quicker. You need points. If you tie every match, you aren't going to rank up quick at all because you're only getting, 2 points, 3 points. So that's why Soul Weaver is actually more viable in a tournament aspect than she is in a rank aspect. Soul Weaver, of course, is strong on Red Church. She can also be quite strong on Leo's Memory in Lakeside. The final hunter in A- tier is Feaster. Feaster is a strong hunter, however the Peeper nerf did hurt Feaster because that's his main trait. Feaster's chase is good, but it's counterable. Feaster's camping is very good, but it's counterable, and Feaster does not have map control or cipher control. Feaster can be a very strong hunter, and he's just, in my opinion, Feaster's the most balanced hunter in this game because every single thing he has about him is counterable by the survivors. The survivors can do something to counter it. You know, in chase, you can just circle the tentacle and then it can't hit you. But if the feaster was quick enough, he could tentacle you before you got the chance to. So it's balanced that way. So yeah, he's just overall a strong hunter. And if you master him, you can use him in tournaments and you can have success. You can use him in legendary rank for sure and you can have success. But you just have to master him. And when mastered, he's around an A tier hunter. The Peeper nerf did hurt his tier a little bit though. Finally, let's move on to A plus tier. Oh, not finally, there's one more tier after this. A plus tier hunters are tournament viable hunters. So these are just very, very solid hunters that are great in rank, great in legendary rank, and great in tournament. You can see them use second, third round all the time. Some maybe even first round. The first hunter in A plus tier is Guard 26, Bonbon. Bonbon has the best camping in the game and he has very good chase, but he has no map control or cipher control. What this means is that while his camping and chase is very good, which means you can kill someone quick, and if survivors decide to rescue off of you, you can double hit or stuff them. This makes him a very strong hunter because of that, which is why he is A plus tier. The issue is because he has no map control or cipher control, survivors can decide whether they want to go for the win or just take the tie. Because if survivors just want to tie, all they ever have to do is just not rescue off of you and let you camp that chair and just decode. And then they will tie every game just if they just don't save or if they save after halfway. That's the biggest issue with Bonbon and why he's quite counterable. It's just because his lack of map control and cipher control puts the game into survivors' hands rather than the hunter's hands. I don't want the fact to get lost so that he's a very, very strong hunter because of his camping and his chase, and that's why he's an A plus tier hunter. You can definitely see him used in tournaments. You can definitely see him used in legendary rank because he's strong. The next hunter in A plus tier is actually the newest hunter in the game who's just coming out in rank, and that's Galatea Sculptor. Sculptor is very, very strong. She is Bonbon 2.0 basically, which is why it's such a great segue from Bonbon to Sculptor. Sculptor's chase is a little bit weaker than Bonbon, a little bit less consistent, and her camping is a little bit weaker early game than Bonbon, because in game her camping is arguably even better. But the number one thing Sculptor has that Bonbon doesn't is map control. Her second skill gives her amazing map control, and that can win her games. Sculptor is a very, very strong hunter, and while I already have her at A plus tier, so this means she's very strong, very powerful. In my next tier list, I'm making a prediction. I will have Sculptor at S tier. I believe Sculptor is a very hard, she's a very complex hunter to play. So a lot of people haven't fully mastered her yet, which is why I have her at A plus tier for now. But once hunters start getting better and better with her, similar to how they did with Dream Witch, and once they start mastering Sculptor, she will for sure, in my opinion, be an S tier hunter. But yeah, Sculptor is very strong and definitely watch out for her in the future. The next hunter in A plus tier is someone that's been at S tier for most of my last tier list, and that's Bloody Queen. Bloody Queen is now A plus tier because of her nerf. They nerfed her mirror cooldown, and they nerfed her mirror duration, and then they nerfed her movement speed. Both of these nerfs really hurt her because they made her a lot more kiteable. The issue with Bloody Queen is that she can only get ties. This is because while her chase is pretty good to consistently kill someone in 60 seconds, her map control is good, but it's not enough for you to win a game with. And then she has no camping whatsoever. She has zero camping. So when you have no camping at all, and then your map control is good, but then her chase is good. But the issue with Bloody Queen's chase actually is she can't kill someone in 20 seconds. Bonbon, Axeboy, even hunters like Ripper, Spider, they can kill someone in like 20-30 seconds if you get lucky. Bloody Queen's cooldown is so long that you're going to kill someone. It's a lot more consistent, but it's also going to be 50 to 60 seconds at best by the time you kill someone. So once you have let survivors work on a cipher for 60 seconds, you have no camping, and your map control just isn't quite enough to win you games, it results in a lot of ties. Bloody Queen is truly tie queen because of her nerf. However, she's still a very, very strong hunter. You will definitely still see her in tournaments and in legendary rank because she's just really strong. She's just not broken queen anymore. She's tie queen. The final hunter in A+ tier is one that actually just got nerfed, and that's Violinist. Violinist is not as consistent as a hunter like Bloody Queen because he can get kited longer, but Violinist can also kill someone a lot quicker. If you hit a good note on someone and then hit them, you can kill them very quickly. Violinist has pretty strong camping, especially in game, but even early game his camping is good. And Violinist has a little bit of map / cipher control. Because of that, that makes him better than Bonbon, because his chase is about the same as Bonbon. His camping is probably a little bit worse than Bonbon, but Violinist actually has some sort of cipher control which Bonbon does not have, and that's what makes him the superior hunter. Violinist is starting to get countered, however, and survivors are starting to get a lot better at facing him. And then when you add on the nerf that just came to him, he's not going to be an S tier hunter anytime soon. He is going to fall in the meta over these next couple of months. But for now, he's still a very strong hunter. Very good for rank, very good for tournament, and he's A+ tier. Now let's get into the final tier. This is S tier. These are meta hunters. These are hunters that are just better in a different weight class than every single hunter I just named. And even in the two hunters I'm going to name, there's a big difference in those two. And there's a big gap in those two power level. The first hunter in S tier is Axeboy. Axeboy recently got buffed, and he is a monster. Axeboy's chase is very good. His camping is very good. And guess what? His map control is pretty solid as well. He has everything you would want in a hunter. The only downfall to Axeboy is that sometimes you are relying on the randomness of the fireballs rather than controlling your skill like a Violinist or a Bloody Queen. You're kind of depending on the fireballs to rotate. That's the only downfall to Axeboy. Everything else about Axeboy is just simply amazing. A lot of players in NAEU may be thinking, oh, Axeboy is not that good. He's good, but he's not S tier. But that's because the server is very slow to catch on to the meta. In this server, a lot of survivors are still banning Violinist, when any good top tier survivor at this point should never ban a Violinist. While he's still strong, you should know how to kite him by now. You should know how to rescue off of him by now. Axeboy is by far, he's one of the top 2 bans in China and in certain parts of Asia because he is a lot scarier. He has a lot more wind potential. He has a lot more snowball potential, and he can come back a lot easier. Even if you get kited with Axeboy, because of his camping and because of his map control, the game is still not over. The buff really made Axeboy strong, and I would expect, in some weeks from now, you'll start to see the meta shifting. You'll start to see a lot more Axeboys getting used in this server, and you'll see him getting banned a lot more as his usage rate goes up. Once he's available in tournaments, the tournaments he has been available in, he gets first round usage, second round usage, he gets used a lot. So he's definitely tournament viable. And like I said earlier, in China rank, he's really the top ban right now in China for top survivors to ban Axeboy. So Axeboy is S tier to S minus tier. The best hunter in the game without a doubt, however, is Dream Witch. Dream Witch has been the best hunter in the game for a very long time, and she still is. She is probably S to S plus tier. All of the nerfs Dream Witch has gotten, you don't have to worry about. It really doesn't affect her at all. And a pro god Dream Witch is the scariest hunter in this game. And there's no other hunter that even compares to it. She is still the most popular pick first round in tournaments. She's still the most popular ban pick in China and in Asia. And I think in NAEU, if they were facing more Dream Witches, they would definitely ban her the most also. Dream Witch is a monster. She is very hard to use. She's a very difficult hunter to use. I speak from experience. But when you master her, there's no other hunter that you feel as powerful with. Because Dream Witch's map and cipher control is the best in the game. And her chase is good when you can use skills like Patroller and Blink to help it, and her camping is pretty decent as well. But what makes her shine is that cipher and map control. There's no hunter that's as good as her at those two things, and that's what makes her S tier without a doubt. That's what makes her the best hunter in this game, and she's S to S plus tier. That does it for the tier list. I do hope you enjoyed this video. If you did enjoy it, please leave a like. And if you want to see more videos like this in the future, please subscribe to the channel. And that'll be all for the video. Bye.